The Galactic Command Academy's orientation hall buzzed with the chittering, humming, and clicking of 1,000 cadets from across known space. Cadet Lyra Chen stood in line at the bioscanner station, her regulation uniform crisp despite the long journey from Earth. Around her, species of every imaginable configuration waited their turn. Crystalline Zephrons who shimmered with impatience, towering krill with their 6 arms crossed, and the gaseous Nithari contained in their environmental suits. When her turn came, the mockery began almost immediately. A human? One of the krill cadets rumbled, his translated voice dripping with amusement. I thought they were still too primitive for command school. A Zephron chimed in, her crystalline body refracting light in what Lyra had learned was their equivalent of laughter. They only achieved faster-than-light travel 80 cycles ago. My people were building Dyson spheres when theirs were still banging rocks together. Lyra ignored them, stepping up to the scanner platform. The device was ancient by galactic standards, a relic from the first confluence designed to catalog the military history of every species in the Alliance. It had stood in this hall for 3,000 years, measuring the combat achievements of countless civilizations. The instructor, a wizened archon with electromagnetic tentacles that sparked with authority, gestured toward the scanner. Place your hand on the pad, Cadet Chen. The device will read your species' collective military record and assign you to an appropriate track. Behind her, the snickering continued. I bet it doesn't even register, someone whispered. Humans probably haven't fought anything more dangerous than themselves. Lyra placed her palm on the cool surface. The scanner hummed to life, its ancient mechanisms whirring as it reached across quantum fields to access the vast databases of the Galactic Archive. Normally, this took seconds. The device would flash green for standard military accomplishments, blue for exceptional strategic victories, yellow for defensive excellence. The humming grew louder. The hall began to quiet as cadets noticed something unusual. The scanner's harmonic frequency was climbing, reaching pitches that made several species cover their auditory organs. On the display above, data began scrolling, faster than anyone could read, a blur of text that seemed endless. Then the scanner lit red, not the soft amber of a warning or the dull crimson of a minor alert. This was a blazing, pulsing red that bathed the entire hall in its glow, accompanied by a sound none of the cadets had heard before, a deep, resonant tone that seemed to come from the scanner's very core. The Archon instructor's tentacles stopped sparking. Its eyes widened. That's impossible, it breathed. The scrolling data slowed and words appeared on the display in the common tongue. Warning. Species classification. Updated human military record, logged as planets erased. Not enemies total combat engagements, 14,732. Major wars nuclear weapons deployed on home planet 2476 in testing. Theoretical planet-killing weapons developed, 47 distinct designs. Actual celestial bodies rendered uninhabitable. The hall fell into absolute silence. The data continued. Species trait persistence. Predator average combat duration will not cease until extinction, self or enemy. Unique notation. Only known species to weaponize their own atmosphere. Unique notation. Only species to achieve nuclear fission before leaving home system. Unique notation. 95%. Of military innovations developed during internal conflicts. The Krell cadet who had mocked her earlier took an involuntary step backward. The Zephron's crystalline structure had stopped refracting light entirely, a sign of shock in her species. The Archon instructor moved closer to the display, its tentacles trembling. This says, Cadet Chen, this says your species has been in a state of continuous warfare for over 3,000 of your years, and that's just the recorded history. Lyra removed her hand from the scanner. Yes, sir. We've had some disagreements. Disagreements. The Archon's voice rose. It says here that you developed weapons capable of ending all life on your planet 12 times over. And you did this before you even knew other species existed. What were you fighting? Each other, sir, Lyra said simply. A murmur rippled through the assembled cadets. The translation matrices struggled to convey the mixture of horror and disbelief that swept the hall. The Archon pulled up additional data, its movements frantic now. It says the 2 celestial bodies you rendered uninhabitable were both in your own solar system. You destroyed two of your neighboring worlds? Test sites, sir. We needed to see if the weapons worked before we built failsafes. Before you built failsafes? The Archon's tentacles were fully extended now, sparking erratically. You tested planet-destroying weapons without knowing if you could control them? We figured it out eventually. Sir, another data stream appeared. Additional notation. Species exported conflict to void of space within 6 cycles of FTL achievement. Additional notation. First contact protocol includes 847. Distinct weapon types additional. Notation. Human warships carry weapons designated for planetary bombardment as standard armament. The Zephron who had laughed earlier spoke, her voice now crystal clear with fear rather than amusement. Your people bring planet killers on every ship? Lyra shrugged. Just in case, ma'am. Our history taught us to be prepared. The Archon instructor stared at the display for a long moment, then at Lyra, then back at the display. Finally, it spoke in a voice that carried across the silent hall. Cadet Chen, you are hereby assigned to Advanced Strategic Warfare, Specialized Track, Scorched Earth Protocols. Your species' experience in comprehensive conflict resolution will be invaluable to the Alliance. It paused, its tentacles curling inward, a gesture of deep respect among the Archons. And to all cadets present, let this be your first lesson in galactic military history. Do not judge a species by when they achieved spaceflight. Judge them by what they did before they left their world. The humans fought themselves with such ferocity that they literally changed the face of their neighboring planets, and they did it all while trapped in a single solar system. The Archon's eyes swept across the assembly. Imagine what they'll do now that they have the stars. Lyra stood at attention as the next cadet nervously approached the scanner. Around her, she could feel the weight of 1,000 stares, no longer mocking but wary. Good, she thought. Let them be wary. Humanity had spent 3,000 years perfecting the art of war against itself. Now finally they had someone else to protect. And heaven help anyone who threatened the alliance that had welcomed them to the stars. Because humanity knew exactly one way to deal with existential threats. Overwhelming, absolute, and if necessary, planet-erasing force. The scanner's red glow finally faded, but its warning would echo through the Academy for generations to come.